everyone. Welcome to Baseball Chat. I've been to many games in my life, watched many games in my life, and a good amount of them have been with Benji. I think I'm going to give him a call, and we'll talk about some of our greatest memories.
Hey, Joseph.
Benji, we've been to many games together. We've watched many games together, and a couple come to mind for each category there, watching and attending. I think we should jump into the watching first. One of the games that you and I watched together was very special. So, Benji, give some context into what was going on in that game.
So that game, the Yankees offense couldn't do anything. Jeter, Cano, A-Rod especially could not do anything that night. They were down 2-1, and it was actually it was game 3 of the series. The series was tied at 1. So this was a pretty big swing game for whoever won this.
Girardi puts in Raul Ibanez, and I'm like, wow, really? A-Rod is being sent back to the bench. That's a pretty big deal. And then the magic happened.
In my head, I'm thinking, wait, I mean, yeah, a righty's up. A-Rod hasn't done great against righties this year. You have Raul Ibanez, a lefty. So it made sense, especially because A-Rod was DHing that game. And Ibanez could not field the ball at all that season. He was primarily the DH.
So my father was trying to sleep, and I hear him coming downstairs, and I'm like, oh no, we're making too much noise because we're really pumped about this game. And he tells us, guys, I told you to be quiet. You're making way too much noise. And then he turns off the TV a second after Raul Ibanez crushes the ball, like before the camera pans to where the ball's hit. So you see him with the home run swing, and everyone stands up, and we're like, what? And then the TV shuts off, and I'm like, what? And Benji in front of my dad's like, are you kidding me? He goes, oh my God. And my dad says, go home, Benji. Go home. And then Benji and I are like, now we're like, my dad goes upstairs. We're like whispering, like, oh my God. And then we're just sitting in the room with the TV off. And my dad goes back upstairs, and Benji's like, turn it on, turn it back on. And we're like whispering on top of our lungs, like, if that makes any sense. We're like screaming in our whispers, turn it back on. So we turn it back on, and then we see that the Yankees tied the game thanks to Raul Ibanez pinch hit home run for A-Rod. And we're like, oh my God, oh my God. We're like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
Ibanez comes up that inning. He comes up in the bottom of the 12th, I believe it was, either the 11th or the 12th inning. And I remember what the announcer was like.
And we had to be quiet on that one. It was very difficult, but we were.
I think I went home, actually. I think I did go home because we were being too loud. So your dad's like, yeah, go home after he tied it up.
I'll never forget. Boom, the TV gets turned off in front of your face. That's why we're talking about it. It's a memory we'll never forget.
And I remember that night, though, getting home, watching the end of it, the end of the game, and Raul Ibanez. And I had to be as quiet as possible because by that point, it was like midnight almost when the game ended. That wasn't the latest I've ever been up watching a Yankees game. I can go back to that.
Some of them go like 18 innings.
I remember staying up till in the 04 playoffs when games 4 and 5 went like 6 hours, those games. And I stayed up till 2 in the morning watching them.
That's crazy. Another memory for me wasn't with you, though, but I have to say it, and I'm sure you've seen it, was when the Cardinals and the Texas Rangers were in the World Series. That was probably one of the best World Series I've ever watched in my entire life. The back and forth with Albert Pujols, and I think Josh Hamilton was in there too.
David Freese, Albert Pujols.
Yeah. Oh, David Freese. So David Freese was the hero It was unbelievable.
And I actually liked what Joe Buck did. He honored his dad when David Freese hits it in there to center. He's like, "We will see you tomorrow night," which is what his
Yeah, he
dad.
copied his dad's line there.
Yeah, he did. But I like the kind of shout out that he gave to him.
Benji, let's talk about a game that we attended together. But something special would always happen at the end of the game that you and I would do that I wouldn't recommend that everyone else would do. But
Yeah,
the way that it happened was all an accident. So let me dive in, tell the story. I don't remember who the Yankees were playing that night. We walked back to our car in the Bronx. We just started driving past the stadium, get on this ramp, start to head back to Jersey, but we're still in New York. And I pull up at a traffic light. I look over to my left, and in the passenger seat of an Audi Q7, I see the one and only Eduardo Nunez. And not the biggest Nunez fan, but still a Yankee at the time. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm like trying to get the words out. And I'm like, Benji, Benji. And we had two other people, and maybe I don't know, maybe two other people in the car with us at the time.
that-
And I'm trying to open the window, but I can't open the window because I'm so like starstruck. I'm like hitting the window. How do I open it? And I was trying to say hello, and then
yeah.
the light turns green, and he just drives off in front of us. And I think it was your friend for the back that says he screamed out. He goes, "Follow him!" And I don't know. I just took that command, and I was like, "Yes," and started following this guy, and we followed him into a certain part of New York. All of a sudden, the car stops in the middle of the street. Nunez jumps out, and he's about to like head into a bar. And your friend opens up the car door without telling me and jumps out and says, "Can you sign my baseball?"
Yes, I remember
And
that now.
everyone on the street stopped and stared to see if he was going to do it. And he did. And then we got back in the car. And that was really exciting.
I believe you got like a little angry at him for just jumping out of the car like that, which made sense at the time. Obviously, like how are you gonna just jump out of the car like that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, and some people were honking, and I don't want anyone getting injured. I mean, it was a little crazy. It was a story. Seeing a Yankee made me think maybe it doesn't have to be an accident or a coincidence. Because we used to watch the players come out in their cars, and then we'd just wave to them, see what kind of cars they drove. I remember Cano had a fancy schmancy custom white Jeep, and it had all these colorful lights that would glow onto the floor, these
I
big
remember
rims.
and I remember one other card that came out. What we weren't sure whether it was Curtis Granderson or someone else. This nice red Aston Martin. Remember that one?
Yeah, lots of cool cars, except interestingly enough, Jeter drives a Ford because he was doing all these endorsement deals. He was just driving a Ford Expedition. I mean, it was fully loaded, but you
Yeah.
probably expected something fancier. But I guess they make him drive the car, and I guess it's also a free car. So as much money as you make, free is free. Mariano Rivera drove a Acura. I think it was a TL. Uh, he did commercials for Acura.
And for Mo, he grew up in Panama, and he actually had to play baseball. His first mitt was a milk carton, and the first baseball he used, I believe this is what I read, was like a sock with rocks inside. And that's why for me, I think Mo was just more comfortable, and he wasn't comfortable in flashy cars and stuff like that because he grew up that way.
So running into Nunez started a tradition that turned from an accident to a tradition. And we used to watch the players come out, as we mentioned. And then we thought, Well, maybe we could time it just right where when they pull out, we'll be driving by and we'll be next to them. And that's it. That is exactly what we did. A couple times we got close to some of the major players, like Jeter and Mo, but sometimes the timing was off where they stop traffic and they let them go, and then the light turns, and then they're far gone in front of you, and we didn't stand a chance. So this accident of seeing Nunez turn into a tradition. We used to time when the Yankees would come out with our cars. We thought, by the time I get to my car, which is down the street, when I drive by, the Yankees will be pulling out of the parking lot, parallel next to them, and maybe we'll see some of them. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll follow one of them. One day, we did it, and a G Wagon pulls out, and we don't know who it is right away. We just know it's a Yankee. So we start following this Mercedes Benz G Wagon, like deep into New York. Like, I don't know where I am. We got two other people in the car. They're in game. They're like, yeah, let's do it. This is so much fun. Yeah, they're like, this is so much fun. And
I
then
remember I remember like you were driving in. I believe we actually made it into Midtown, New York.
it was pretty crazy. And it's hard to keep up with someone in New York. There's a lot of traffic lights and there's a lot of traffic. So you got to keep up, and G Wagon is a fast car. So
I believe we had ended up in Midtown, New York. I could be wrong about that part, but we
I
definitely
think you're
ended up
right. I think you're right.
deep in New York. Definitely deeper than we had expected to go. And somehow we followed the car all the way to his apartment or to where he
I
was
think it was a
staying that.
hotel, Benji. I think it was a hotel.
It was probably a hotel. I'm not because he had only signed like a 1 year deal, I believe.
Right.
So I
So that's
think
we were
would
very
have gone
confused why Hiroki Kuroda, who was making what, like $15 million a year or something,
maybe 15. It could have
maybe.
been
I don't
12
know.
even. Let
Yeah,
me. I'll
something
double
like
check.
that. Over 10. Let's call it over $10 million a year. And he goes to a hotel. And of course, the same thing happened. Some some crazy person from the back seat opens the door and jumps out of the car and runs down the street.
Except
And
this
this
time I
time it
joined.
and this time it was you, Benji.
We both jumped out. I joined him on this one.
You did join him. You joined him. Oh, that's right. He was there too. Yeah, it wasn't just you. Yeah, you joined him.
Yep.
My other friend said, "Oh, I think we should ditch them." I'm like, no, 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 it's fine. I'm
Yeah,
like, this is so cool. I thought it was really cool, and we learned a lot. We learned that baseball players who make over $10 million a year stay in hotels. And what was interesting was Hiroki Kuroda used to pitch for the Dodgers, so that's in California, and in the license plate on his Mercedes Benz G Wagon was a California license plate.
so that means he drove from California, or
No, Benji, this guy got his car shipped, man. You think he's gonna pay? They relocate you? I mean, although he was staying in a hotel, so maybe he did drive.
maybe I'm not sure about that, but
Yeah, he probably got his car shipped. But yeah, it was really fun following all these players. One time I got really close to Derek Jeter. They go really fast and they block traffic for
yeah,
like a solid minute, which gives them pretty big head start, and then they disappear into the sea of New York traffic.
I will say one memory I had of getting an autograph from a player was because we would always wait outside the stadium. We had time, so waiting outside the stadium for however long it was to see these players come out. And one time, Dylan Betances, he had stopped for a couple of young kids, and I was waiting there. I'm like, oh, I got guy's autograph. He was for a 5 year stretch. He was the Yankees' best reliever. Nasty stuff. And I'm like, yo, I got guy's autograph.
He had one of the craziest curveballs you've ever seen in your entire life.
Top five curveball in my opinion at the time. Top five curveball in baseball.
Yeah, that was a 12-6, and it was crazy.
And he could locate it anywhere he wanted to. He could locate it top of the zone, bottom of the zone, just outside. He was masterful with it.
And now he's retired.
Unfortunately, injuries got the best of him. He came back from an injury with the Yankees. He struck out both batters he faced, got injured again, and then he went to the Mets.
And then retired after that. I don't think anything else happened with him.
I don't think so, but I remember getting his autograph thanks to like these two little kids and their mom trying to like stopping him outside the stadium. And I'm like, yo, no, you know what? I'm sorry, I'm not a little kid here,
Yeah,
but
some
I
people
has
you're right,
autograph.
some people do crazy things and like even these moms, they'll throw themselves, like, in front of the car, make them slam on their brakes and be like, "Look at my son," and they, like, hold up their son. "Sign this for him."
Exactly. And it was just that crazy that like I was able to get his. Um,
Do you remember Michael K, Ken Singleton?
yep.
I don't know if I remember I don't know if Michael K was there. I know Ken Singleton was there. I was pretty starstruck about that too. Now, for
I,
those who don't know, Ken Singleton was a baseball player, and he also was Michael K's co-host for the broadcast on the Yes Network. And I loved when he would say, "And this one is gone, a home run." That's what he would say. "This one is gone." Just the way that he would say it, I loved it.
I think
And
that the Yankees have always had underrated announcers.
yeah, I mean, he was great. Like I walked up to him, "Oh my God, you're Ken Singleton." And he's like, "Yes, I am." And
But
I didn't even know what to do. Like, I think I just took a picture of him. I just took a picture of him
you're
on
like,
my
yo,
phone.
Ken.
I didn't even take a picture with him. I didn't know what to do. Like, I'm never around any famous people. I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing about that. I will say this: they just want to be treated like normal people. That's it. Like that, yes, they're on TV. You see them a lot of times every year, but I feel like for the most part, they just want to be treated like normal human beings. Um,
Yeah, I mean, some of them really love the attention it gets to
oh,
them. Benji, give us another memory.
well, one I would say would be I did get Paul O'Neill's autograph actually, because he was doing one of the nights. I think either Michael Kay or Singleton. He wasn't in the booth. Paul O'Neill would come in, and I got his outside of the Yankee Stadium as well. Got his autograph, and another this one I kind of like. I don't the pen wasn't really working for me at that time. Another memory was John Sterling, who doesn't give out that many autographs. Um, but somehow I caught him coming out of the game, and he's like, "Okay, yeah, yeah, I'll sign it. Just don't say anything." I remember getting his autograph, and you know what? He's a very underrated announcer. I really like all of his home run calls. It is high, it is far, it is gone. Like every time, it's just so iconic to hear. So I was really stoked to get his.
Another memory that I have, it's not really such a positive memory, but I'll never forget this game. Mariano Rivera is the best closer in the history of the game. Fact. We went to a game and they were playing the Orioles, save situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've been to so many games, and these are just a bunch of great memories. He would come in and shut down the place. Actually, I just remembered another one, which I'll insert here before I continue this one, because I want to say this one first. The Dodgers came into town, and you were at this game with me, and we saw Mariano leave after the game was rained out, actually, and it was postponed till the next day. So we saw him leave in his Acura and drive away. And then the next day, it was a day game, and safe situation. Mariano comes in. Yasiel Puig.
Yep.
They used to call him the Wild Horse. He was pretty good when he came up, and he was very cocky. And they called him the Wild Horse because he just kind of did whatever he wanted to do. You couldn't really tame him. So I'm like, this is going to be good. Mariano against Puig. And this was for the final out for the save. One, two, three. Three pitches. Puig swung at all three pitches, all three cutters in a row. That was the end of him, and that was the game, and the Yankees won. And I have it on video somewhere, and I just loved it because Puig was swinging as if like he thought he could hit it. And then, unfortunately, I've been to a game. This was, the other memory that I mentioned. They were playing the Orioles, and Mariano never wears. Usually, he would never wear high socks. Like pulling up the socks. Benji, you a fan?
Um, I'm not a huge fan, but you know what? I'm not disliking it. I'll say that.
Okay, I love
It's
it.
a good look
I
for some.
love it.
And I remember you loved it with Curtis Granderson when he did that.
Yeah, I love it with any player, to be honest. So Mariano was wearing it, and we were watching him warm up in the bullpen. It's interesting he's wearing that today. Okay. Gets into the game. I've never seen this in person in my life, but he blew the save. This just proves that no one's perfect. But Mariano Rivera was as close to perfect as you can be. It was just like, how could this happen? This never happens. But he's a human, and humans make mistakes, and it's okay.
I remember a game last year, early on in the season. Yankees are playing the Blue Jays, and Judge, and they were down 5-3 going into the bottom of the ninth inning. They had clawed their way back a few times, made it. It was 3-0, then 3-2, then 5-2, then 5-3. So bottom of the ninth, numbers 8, 9, and 1 hitter, and then if anyone got on, Judge was coming to the plate. So, and I remember a guy, Trevino, was coming up. I think I forgot who got on first base first, but Trevino was coming up, and this guy's like, "Oh, the game's over. Trevino's coming in," and and Trevino walked, and he's like, "Oh, okay, cool." That made it first and second, 1 out for Judge. This was last year when he decided to turn down his huge deal, bet on himself. He's taking a couple pitches. It's 1-2. He fouls off a few pitches, and then he gets into a slider down and in. He just crushes it, second deck left field, and the whole stadium knew it as soon as he hit it. Everyone's going wild. We all just knew, like, once it left his bat, everyone was up off their seats because that was his first walk-off home run as a Yankee. I believe his first walk-off home run of his career at that point. So everyone was
Sounds
just
like an amazing, amazing game to be at,
it,
and a wonderful
it was,
memory.
I do have the video of that at bat. I'm think I did send it to you at one point. I'm not sure if you still have it or not, but I do have the video of that at bat and of me going crazy. You can hear myself in the background just yelling like "Let's go, Judge," as well as everyone else in the stadium. But amazing memory, one of my favorites from the stadium.
Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for today on Baseball Chat. Thanks so much for joining us.
But the rest of the season.